Hello everyone. Welcome to this live stream. So it's really nice to be here. I have to say I actually really enjoy this live stream. First time I was doing it, I was really nervous, but now I kind of start liking it more and more. All right, so today we are talking about how to improve self-esteem and really take control of our lives. And if you have been following me for a while, and if you follow me on Instagram, you know that this is something that I talked quite a lot about. Self-worth, self-esteem, they are very similar things. And yeah, I'm really passionate about this topic. I talk about it a lot. And that is because I think that our self-worth is really in the foundation of everything in our lives, right? Think about it. We will stay in the relationship that we think we are worthy of, right? If we can be in a really fulfilling and good relationship where we feel respected and loved, and then sometimes we stay in a relationship where we are not feeling fulfilled, where we are actually treated kind of badly and we are not respected and valued, right? But we make a choice to stay in those relationships. Why? Because we think that's what we are worthy of, right? That's what we kind of deserve. And we cannot do better than this, right? It's this belief that I actually cannot do better than this. This is the highest that I can get, the best that I can get, right? Or we can be, you know, at work. We will have the work that we think we are worthy of. Somebody can enter in a company and quit 2 months later because they realize very quickly the effort that they put into this work, the number of hours, the work that they do is just not valued enough in this company. And they quit without having a second thought. They find something better because they believe I'm worthy more than this, right? Then another person in exactly the same company will stay for years, even if they're not feeling good there, even if they are not fulfilled at this job, right? But they will stay there for many years just because they don't believe they can get anything better. And they just think that that's what they are kind of worthy of, right? So for me, yeah, I'm really passionate about this topic of self-esteem and self-worth because of that. Because I think that by improving our self-worth, we can really transform our lives in many ways and all aspects of our lives. So, what are we going to talk about today? We will talk about which patterns and like how exactly low self-worth appears in our lives, right? Like which patterns are typical when a person has a low self-worth. And it's not always like super obvious, right? Like on the surface or on the externally it can look really good. Like a person can have a good job in terms of like some kind of society standards or typical success standards. They can have a family, a house, or whatever, right? But maybe that person is miserable because none of these things is what they actually wanted. And they just don't find the courage, they don't find the strength to claim their own desires, and they just follow somebody else's path, right? So let's talk about it then. Which patterns are typical for having low self-worth? First of all, one of the biggest things that's so typical for having a low self-esteem and low self-worth, it's people pleasing. And it might sound too typical, and we hear about this a lot, this people pleasing and poor boundaries and so on. But people pleasing is a really broad topic, and it's really again like quite fundamental to understand that, in my opinion. Because people pleasing, it's not just like, oh, not being able to say no or something like that. It's really a deep feeling that our needs are not as important as other people's needs, or that we are in the end not as important as other people, right? So, for example, when, I don't know, when, even an example of not being able to say no, when, maybe your family members or something keep asking you for favors again and again, week after week, and you end up sacrificing your needs. We're not talking about the case when it's an emergency and your family needs your help, and, of course, you want to help them. We're not talking about this. We're talking about this pattern that a person can do for many, many years, when every time somebody comes to them asking for favors, asking for help, and they have to sacrifice their needs to help these people again and again and again. That's what we are talking about, right? That's people pleasing, and that's not being able to say no. And not being able to say no means that, like, why are we not able to say no, right? Like, you think that if you say no, what will happen? That this person will get offended and they will reject you. In the end, there is a deep-rooted belief that I will be rejected and I will not have people, right? Like, if I say no to my mother or to my friend or to my colleague, they will reject me. They will not speak to me anymore, and so on. And we have this fear of rejection, and it all comes from our childhood wound. But we're not talking about that right now. And another thing is that we're feeling guilty if we say no, and other people actually who always ask us for favors or ask us for help and so on, they know that this is our pattern. And again, this is not something that we are conscious about. It's not something that, like, your friend or your family member knows and consciously thinks, oh, she can never say no, so I will keep asking her. They are probably not conscious themselves. But usually when we are people pleasers and we have this pattern of not being able to say no and put needs of other people above our own, we surround ourselves with people who are the opposite, with people who just want to take and take and take from us, right? And usually what happens when we say no, we get some kind of words and sentences that make us feel guilty. Like, oh no, how can you? You're my friend, but you have to help me. Or, you're my daughter, I've done so much for you. These sort of things, which immediately make us feel guilty. And we end up giving up and, again, sacrificing our needs, our wants for other people again and again. What else? We don't express our true desires or our needs. So, a typical example, when, for example, you're in a restaurant and they bring you something wrong, they bring you a wrong dish, and you don't say anything, right? You're like, oh, it's okay. I don't want to bother them. I'm just, it's fine. I also, this dish is also fine, right? But this is like a super small example, but this shows, because this is a mentality that we have, and this is a pattern that we have, not just when we come to a restaurant, right? But this is what we have with all kinds of relationships and all kinds of interactions in our lives. The point is, we don't express our needs. We don't think our needs are important or our wants are important, right? We are afraid to bother people, like I don't know, like we are some kind of a burden to others. And we're just, again, not important enough to claim our desires. I had this so many times. Like, I've had this, everything that I'm talking about here is what I had myself in the past. So a typical thing for me was when I would be with people who are not like super close to me, not like my own family, but, for example, my parents-in-law, or some friends, but not like close friends. And they would offer something like, oh, would you like some, I don't know, some juice or some water or something special to make yourself comfortable. And I would always say, no, it's fine. Don't worry about it. No, it's okay. I don't need anything. Even if I wanted that thing every single time. This was very, very typical behavior for me. And I mean, I'm still working on these things, right? It doesn't mean that from one day to another you're completely different person, but I'm working on this, and I have been working on this for, and when I recognized that all of these were just my people pleasing tendencies and really these unhealthy patterns, I started to be conscious of it and started to make different choices. All right. Yeah. Next one, again, poor boundaries. This is something, again, we hear so much. We hear this about boundaries everywhere, and I hate it when something comes up so much. People kind of devalue the meaning of it or the importance of it. But actually, boundaries, it's such a huge topic, and it's, again, so important, especially in this context of having low self-worth or low self-esteem, because these things are really directly connected. And yeah, low self-esteem, like, it's affecting our boundaries, because again, we think we're not important enough. So when somebody does something that's uncomfortable, when somebody asks you a question that's inappropriate, that makes you feel uncomfortable, and we don't say anything to stop them, or we don't say, like, I don't want to reply this, I don't want to talk about this. Instead, we actually ignore our own, like, not willingness to talk about it, and we do reply it. Or this typical, like, inappropriate comments about, I don't know, like, women being 30 years old, and when are you gonna have kids, and when are you gonna get pregnant. We end up explaining ourselves instead of just saying, you know what, I don't want to talk about it, and please don't ask me this question. And again, it's because we think that this person somehow is above us, and they do have the right to ask us this. And if we say something to them that we don't want to talk about it, we will offend them, we will get rejected by them, our relationship with them will get worse, right? Which is completely twisted, because actually, when we have poor boundaries and when we allow other people to do whatever the heck they want and we don't say anything, we keep accumulating this resentment. This doesn't go anywhere, right? Like, if you're not comfortable with something, you're not comfortable with something. So if you keep ignoring your boundaries, or other people ignoring your boundaries, and you allow them to do that, you building resentment towards these people. And this never works in a way that, oh yeah, I'm doing this to save our relationships. It never works like that. Actually, setting up your boundaries will help you to improve relationships with others. What else? Another thing is adapting to others, right? Adapting to others. What do I mean by that? Again, when we have low self-esteem or low self-worth, we almost like automatically live somebody else's life, but not necessarily in a huge way. But think about when you, I don't know, make plans to go somewhere with your friends, and you always end up asking them, but what do you want to do? Well, what do you want to eat? But which movie do you want to see, right? And these are really small examples, and they are not as important in the big scheme of things. But if we're like this in small things, again, all of these things, they are mindset things. And if we're like this in small things, we're also like this in bigger things that are really fundamental in our lives. So maybe our whole life is built on adapting to somebody else. Maybe we're living in a countryside when we actually want to live in a big city because our partner wants that. Maybe we are, I don't know, going to travel because, again, or going to travel in a specific way because our partner wants that, and we would actually prefer to just chill and not do anything adventurous. And all kinds of things, right? Like our entire life can be built on that. Maybe we actually went to study and we got a job that we thought our parents would approve. Again, adapting to others all the time instead of listening to our needs and our wants. And another point is that when we have a low self-worth, like sometimes we ignore our needs and wants, and sometimes we don't even, like, we're so far beyond this that we don't even know what are our needs and what are our wants. We are living so long pleasing other people and just following somebody else's paths that we completely lose touch with ourselves, and we completely, we just don't know ourselves. We don't know what we want. We don't know what our needs are. And that's another way. And of course, think about how huge the impact is on your life and on your level of happiness in your life. If you don't know yourself, if you don't know what you want, how can you be happy if you're not doing what you want, if you don't know what are your true desires, right? This is so fundamental. All right, all these things are examples of, the patterns, or what do we do when we have low self-esteem or low self-worth, right? And now let's talk about how to improve it and how to actually change all this. And the first thing, well, actually, the whole process of how to improve your self-worth and how to work on this whole thing, it's just two parts, basically. One part is realize everything that's wrong, everything that's your unhealthy patterns, everything that's your people pleasing, not knowing what you want, adapting to others, realizing all of that, and then changing that. That would be the second part, and changing that and making new choices in life, right? But let's go deeper. The first one would be to find out the root cause of where all this even came from. And I'm not 100%, always saying that you have to dig in a childhood and so on. I mean, in the end, I am a life coach, not a therapist. But I do believe that it's really, really, it can be really helpful and it can be really powerful to really dig deeper and try to uncover the root cause. And the reason is why I think it's helpful and it can be really powerful is because if we can understand how we learned all these patterns and how we learned all these behaviors, right? Like, how did it happen that at which point, like, I'm a baby, I'm a kid. Every kid knows exactly what they want, right? The kid doesn't always say like, oh, I don't know who am I don't know what I want. No, every kid knows what they want, because when we are born as small babies, we are so pure. We don't have any judgments, we don't have any any influences from other people, from society, and so on. So at which point, where does it happen that from that pure little baby or kid, I become this person who doesn't know who am I, who doesn't have the job that I want, who doesn't have the relationship that I want, and who just, has all these kind of unhealthy patterns? Where does it come from, right? And if we can understand that, I think that it can be really powerful, because this will help us to separate those patterns from our identity. I really think that that's kind of the key here. Because when we are living this life for many, many years, for decades maybe, living in this certain scenario year after year, we think that this is us. I've always been like this, right? I've always kind of ignored my needs. I've always, settled for whatever was given to me. But if we can understand, if we can find out the root cause of all this, we can separate this from our identity, and then it will be easier to actually change these patterns, because we will see like, okay, this is what I actually learned. This is not who am I. This is not who I am. This is just simply the things, the strategies that I learned when I was a kid for certain reasons, for whatever was going on in my family or wherever when I was a child. This is what I learned, but this is not actually who am I truly, right? And if we can separate it, I think it will be much, much easier to then, change this pattern in the end, because we will become more aware of all the situations and all these patterns. All right, and what else? The next one would be to really analyze your life that would be the next step. To analyze your life in the current situation, right? In your current moment, and to really start to recognize and pay attention to all these triggers and all these patterns. Where do you neglect yourself? Is it your job that's the most unsatisfying thing in your life? And if it's your job, what is happening there? Is it because you never claimed what you truly wanted to pursue in your career, and you just settled for somebody else, what your parents said, or what society was kind of pushing on you, or what happened there? Maybe it's because you love your actual job, but maybe you're super unhappy there because again, the people pleasing, and you're always overworking, doing whatever the boss or your colleagues ask you, not being able to say no, not being able to set up your boundaries. Maybe you have a really low salary that's affecting your satisfaction, because again, you don't think that your effort and your commitment values more than what you're actually getting. So the key here is to really understand, to analyze your life. Where are you most unsatisfied? Which is the area of your life that's the most challenging for you? And to understand what are all these patterns and triggers of yours. Why are you not happy? Is it your family that always approaches you, and you end up helping everyone, ignoring your own needs, sacrificing your own time and energy all the time for somebody else? Or maybe nobody actually approaches you, but you're the one trying to get that validation thanks to other people, trying to be involved in other people's lives, trying to help them because that's how you feel useful and you feel more worthy in those moments. So where is it? So the key is to really analyze your life and to understand all of these situations in your specific situation. Which are all these patterns that you are in the loop of, right? Where are you adapting to others everywhere? Again, that's another big question. Where are you not following your own desires, or you don't even ask yourself, you don't even stop for a second to ask yourself, what do I want? But you just automatically do what other people around you kind of want from you. And the next step will be, once you realize all this and you make this analysis of your life, is to really make changes and start saying no. Where does all your energy go, right? Like, where does all your energy go? Because if you are not satisfied in your life, we have a certain limited amount of energy in our lives, and limited amount of time. And if we are not satisfied in our lives, in our jobs or somewhere else, that means that our energy goes to somewhere else, and not to the things that we actually want, not to the things that will actually make us happy. So where does all your energy go? Again, is it the people around you? Is it your work? Is it something else? and start setting up boundaries with yourself, first of all, and with other people. And yeah, maybe it's work or something else. Because until you do that, until you really set up these boundaries, or you will simply not have any resource to take care of yourself, to take care of your life, and to make your life in a way that you want to, right? That will make you happy. So again, it means say no to people, stop overworking, speaking to your boss and saying that you want a promotion, you think you deserve a promotion, or you are leaving for a better position, right? So all these things, you actually have to start creating changes. And this is difficult. This is not easy. And this is one of the most difficult things, because when we have these patterns that we continue doing for many, many years, maybe for 10, 20 or more years, this is so strongly imprinted in our brains that our psyche doesn't want to change, right? Things that are outside of that become uncomfortable, even if we are, I mean, let's face it, even if we are not comfortable, like all these things, all this people pleasing, and all this crossed boundaries, or overworking and exhausting ourselves. These things, I wouldn't call them comfort zone, right? But this is something that we are familiar with, and this is something that we have done for so many years that it is, yeah, it becomes familiar, and everything that's outside of that, it becomes outside of our comfort zone. Which, yeah, it's ironic that we call these things comfort zone when they're really not comfortable very often, right? So yeah, you will have a lot of resistance. Our psyche doesn't want to change. We will have these fears coming up, this all these excuses coming up, and everything to not make changes, to have our life uh, in the same way that we always had it, right? And many people unfortunately don't cross this because, yeah, resistance can be really, really strong. And it's difficult. That's why it's very difficult to do these things by yourself. And that's why we have therapy, coaching, and so on to keep us accountable. So when you start setting up your boundaries and say no more, and basically cutting all the things where your energy, is being wasted on other people, on work that you don't like, and so on and so on, you will start, creating this space for yourself. You will start creating this time for yourself. And that's when we can start filling our cup and really, yeah, mm, putting the focus onto ourselves and start making positive changes. And one of the first steps is really, really the basics, and it's just taking care of yourself in terms of sleeping, resting, eating well, just taking care of your health, right? Because that's like the most basic. I mean, if we don't have even that, which very often, unfortunately, we don't, when we have these tendencies, if we have a self-worth, a low self-worth, we usually don't treat ourselves too well, right? We overwork, we ignore, again, even our physical needs are being ignored, which is crazy. But unfortunately, that's what happens very, very often. So first step is to start filling your cup and yeah, start taking care of yourself in terms of these really, really basic things. Because again, once you start sleeping better, once you start eating better, once you start resting, you will have more energy to make more changes, more positive changes in your life. If you're sleep deprived, if you're exhausted, you have no energy because you're constantly in somebody else's life and taking care of other people's problem. You're just completely done. Like you don't have any energy to make any positive changes in your life, right? So we need to restore that resource in ourselves to fill that well, as I call it, or fill your cup. All right, the next step on how to, all of these are steps on how to improve our self-worth, step by step, right? We're moving up. And the second point would be to, not the second, I don't even know which point is it already, but the next step is to really get to know yourself better. Because again, as I mentioned in the beginning, when we are living for so many years being involved in other people's lives and ignoring our needs, ignoring our wants, we just don't know ourselves really, and we cannot start making positive changes until we know what to actually do, like what actually brings me joy, right? So get to know yourself better, and for that, spend quality time by yourself. And this is something that personally I know that many people feel guilty for. When we want to spend quality time by ourselves, right? We get this feeling that this is selfish. This is something that often pushed onto us, this message that, oh, you're so selfish, like your family asks you for thousands of favors, and instead you want to go and enjoy your life doing something nice for yourself. This is so selfish, right? And this sort of things. So this is something that we often feel guilty for, but we shouldn't. Again, never talking about the situation when it's an emergency, when our family really needs our help, but only when it's a consistent pattern of people pleasing and ignoring our needs, right? In this case, it is not selfish, it is never selfish to take care of ourselves, to do things that bring us joy, and to spend that quality time by ourselves. And yeah, I think that's very, very important in order to get to know yourself, because we often do things that, oh, just because my friend is doing something, oh, I will just join them. Oh, because my family is doing something, I will just join them. But what do you actually want? What do you want? We don't even ask ourselves that. And so I think it's important to do this quality time sometimes just by yourself, or at least think what do you want to do by yourself, and then find a company and make suggestions to other people to do them with you, but not the other way around, right? And this will help us to find out our true desires, and that's our next step, right? Your true desires is a key word here. Not what your partner wants, not what you think you should want at this certain age, at this certain point in your life, but what are your true desires? And this is a really, really difficult question, and something that, yeah, we should always try to ask ourselves, what are my true desires? Because we are so different, like people are so extremely different, but so many people live in such a templated life, right? Like, I think that if people were following their true desires, like everyone's life would be so much more extraordinary. But we often just follow this templated life that we think is right, not even questioning it. So find out what your true desires. And again, once you spend more time by yourself, once you start to actually pay attention to your needs and to your wants, it will come much more easier. You will start knowing yourself better, and you will start understanding what do you like, what do you don't like, what are your preferences here and there, and so on. And it will go to like bigger things in life, like career and just the way you want to live your life. The next one, and this will be the last step, is to just simply start making changes and start doing those things. Once you spend time by yourself, once you start getting to know yourself better, and you will start to first do smaller things in life, this will give you this confidence. And at this point, at this stage, your self-worth has already increased a lot and improved a lot. You're already recognizing your true desires. You already understand that actually what you want is important and is as important as any other people's desires, right? And as you start doing smaller things, I don't know, maybe you start going to some dancing classes or boxing classes or whatever it is that you always wanted to try but you never actually had time, or you just didn't think it was for you. As you do those smaller things, it will give you more and more confidence, and it will give you more and more joy that your desires are valid, and you can actually get things that you want in life. And with this belief, you will start having bigger dreams, and you will slowly start to realize, I can actually, like, I've already done so many changes. I could actually start, studying something completely different at the age of 50, and I can do it. Like, I can change my career even if I'm whatever age, or I can move to another country. Like, you will start to believe in yourself, and you will start to believe that you can do these things. So this is the plan. But as I mentioned, some things are quite difficult to do by yourself without the help of a coach or a therapist. One of these things is mm, when we are trying to analyze our yeah our patterns. This is extremely difficult to do by yourself, and I mean, that's why, if it was so easy, right, we would all be self-aware, and we would all be some kind of gurus. But it's really, really freaking difficult, because we don't see our own patterns. We don't see our own, like, what do we do, our own behavior. We cannot analyze it because it's too much. We are in it, right, or we are it. And until we can become aware of it, we just don't see these things. We just don't see these patterns. And that's why, again, we have therapists, coaches, and that's why I want to, guys, introduce to you my group coaching program, which I've talked about in some of my previous videos, but now I want to share more about it. Because in this program, which will be a better group coaching program, which I have never done in my life before, and that's why it's better, we will really together analyze your life and analyze your patterns and what in your life you're doing that is holding you back, that is preventing you, that is taking all of your energy from doing the things that you actually want to do, right? We will actually have the workbooks with all these questions, which will help you to discover and analyze your own scenarios. And I think that's really, really good for many people, because I think so many people find it difficult or awkward or weird to talk about these things, this childhood and the family and these personal, really, really personal things with somebody else, with a therapist or a coach and so on. And with the help of my workbooks, you will actually have an opportunity to do that by yourself in the comfort of your home. So you don't have to, go through something if you don't want it. But we will also have weekly calls, group calls, and weekly lessons, and these workbooks, and chat support, and support from me and guidance from me that will help you to really stay accountable. And that's another point, and something that I mentioned as well, that when we start to create positive changes, when we want to create positive changes in life, most people don't actually go through with it, because when we are trying to do something different after doing something in a certain way for that, not thousands of years, for many years, for tens of decades, right, we will have resistance. And this is something that 100% I will guarantee you, once you want to do things different in your life, you will have resistance. And again, that's because our psyche doesn't want us to change. That's because It's like it wants our lives to stay the same as they always were. And this resistance comes as fears, as all kinds of excuses. We can self-sabotage ourselves and to not actually go through with these changes, these positive changes that we really, really want. And that's when, again, an accountability from a coach, or in this case, even better, since it's a group coaching program, you will have accountability from me and also from the group, which will be doing it with you, which will have very similar things that they struggle with. And I think that this is amazing. I've done group coaching a couple of times, and it's amazing because you are in a group with people who are going through the same. And usually these groups are so supportive and just so friendly, and you just end up in this environment of support and guidance and love, which really, really helps you to, to work on whatever it is. And in this case, self-worth and all this. Yeah, it's even more important because self-worth essentially comes from the lack of need, of the lack of love, right? The lack of unconditional love that we, yeah, that we for some reason didn't get when we were children, or it was a conditional love. So we had to be in a certain way to get the attention and love from our parents or from somebody else. So yeah, in this aspect, this really friendly and loving environment, it's even more important, and it would give such a boost, and it would be really, really amazing. All right. So yeah, the group coaching this group coaching program will launch in September, towards the end of September. And as I said, we will have weekly Zoom calls. We will have weekly lessons. You will get printable workbooks where you can actually write down and self-reflect on your life, on your patterns, on all these unhealthy scenarios that you might be going through in your life. You will learn how to set up your boundaries, and we will actually have tools or almost templates that you can use for your own life. I will not give you like standard phrases that you can use, but you will analyze your own life and your own situations where your boundaries are being crossed all the time, and you will create these phrases and sentences. You will really learn how to set up boundaries with people in your life. And I think that's so important. And so this one thing, boundaries, it's going to have a massive impact because you don't even realize how much energy you waste, or how much energy you spend on other people, which you could spend on your life and create results that you want in your life, because you cannot set up boundaries with others. So that's what we will also be doing. And another thing very important here in boundaries is this aspect of feeling guilty and this manipulation from other people, which is something that you will 100% face when you start setting up boundaries with people who got used to you acting in a certain way for many years, who got used to you not ever saying no, who got used to running to help everyone in their first call, in their first favor. When you start saying no to these people, they will be extremely upset, and they will use different ways to manipulate and to make you feel guilty. And we will talk about that so you can actually recognize that and not get caught into that, right? Because when we feel guilty, we end up giving up and just doing what other people want. So we will also talk about that and think about some typical scenarios and typical things that people say or do when we start setting up boundaries. And when you start doing that, when you start to set up these boundaries, again, you will start to create this space for yourself, and you will start making little steps to pay more attention to yourself. And we will be doing all that together in a group with homeworks and so on. Spending time by yourself, spending quality time, trying things that you wanted to try, but you never thought that your desires actually mattered. We will really analyze what are your true desires, right? And so much more. All of this and so much more. You will just start to get to know yourself better, and yeah, once week after week, you will start to get this confidence in yourself, and you will start to realize that you're actually worthy of better things, and you're worthy of this and that, which maybe in the past you never thought was possible for you. So we will work on all that, and in the end of the program, we will really analyze your true desires. You will actually create a goal setting plan, a step-by-step plan of things that you actually want to reach once the program is over. I think, guys, this program is completely transformational. It's not that I think it, I know it, because I've worked on the same thing with my clients in one-to-one coaching session. And the results that I've seen, it's incredible. I was even surprised of how of the results, that how some clients transformed their lives in just a few sessions. And in this case, it's even more, because it's a group coaching program. So there's all these different aspects, like group accountability, group support from me, and all these workbooks and so on. And this is just going to be so transformational. It's impossible to not transform your life if you go through this. And I truly think so, because again, I've seen the results from my one-to-one clients with who I was following more or less the same program. And the best thing is, as it's a better program, the price for this group coaching program is ridiculous. In my opinion, it's completely ridiculous, but I want to do it for the first time like this, because that's why it's called a better program. The reason is because I want to go through this program with you guys, and I want to adapt it to your needs, right? So this is more or less the plan, that the strategies that I would like to follow, but it depending on what you come with, right? Like, you have your own lives, you have your own struggles and challenges, and depending on what you come with, we will adapt the program to your needs. And the program will cost 250 euros for 2 months, which is completely this will never happen again. It's an extremely low price for the value that I want to give you, and for the content that I want to give you, and for the way I envision it. It's incredibly low price. But again, since this is beta, I want to do it like this, and this will be a one-time price only, and it will never happen again. Another thing is, the number of spots will be strictly limited, because again, I want it to be a small group, so that this is the first time, and I can really design this program in a way that's going to be exactly for the people that are doing it, right? So it's going to be for you guys. So the number of spots will be 5 and no more. And you can secure a spot if you're already interested. If you already want to secure your spot, just send me your email in the link in this video. It's just an empty page for booking a session, but just put your email there, and I will save it, and I will get back to you with more details soon. Or if you prefer to just send me a DM on my Instagram, you can just do that. I will also leave my link, my account in the description below. So just send me a DM and that you're interested in the group coaching program, and I will get back to you, right? I think that, guys, again, it's impossible to go through this program and not transform your life. If you are struggling with things that I've talked about, and in my experience, these are the things that are usually the combination. And this is what all of these things that I talked about, this is something that I've struggled with. Everything from not knowing myself, from not knowing my needs, from having poor boundaries, to everything, people pleasing, and everything, every single aspect of it. It's something that I struggled with, and I know that usually this is the combination of them. So these things usually come hand in hand, and that's what I also have seen with my clients. So if you are struggling with people pleasing, you need to listen and to know how to set up your boundaries. And you need to know how to really find out your true desires and how to not depend on others too much, and so on and so on. All right. I think this is it. This live stream ended up being much, much longer than I thought. But yeah, let me guys know. Thank you so much for being here. And I will see you in the next video, I guess.